It's DJ with Knit and CrochetArafter.com. Today we are doing the Trip and Twist stitch. I really like this pattern. It's got a very cool texture, but still not like super thick. So I'll talk more about it. Kind of looks cool on the back too, kind of makes a neat reversible fabric. But I'll talk more about it after we run through the pattern repeat. So download the pattern from the link below and we'll get started. Okay, so for the Trip and Twist, the multiple is 4 plus 4. So why don't you just say 8? Because that wouldn't work. We need the 4 end stitches, or multiple of 4 if you just said that, but we need 4 end stitches and then a multiple of 4. So it's just to keep it separate so you know that you have some end stitches and it's not a straight repeat across. So I did a 12 stitches, so multiple of 4 times 2, 8 plus 4, 12. Easy to figure out, easy to do the math. So we're going to get started. So our very first row is actually going to be a purl row, or at least we're going to start with a purl. So we're going to purl 1 and then the pattern repeat begins. So we're going to do 1 purl. And I feel like I do have 2 stitches. I'm like, I knew it. I knew I had 2 stitches in there. So 1 purl. Then we're going to do 2 purls in a 1/1 LT. So what that is a very interesting stitch. So the one actually slash, did I say dash? 1/ whatever. One line 1 LT is a 2-stitch left twist. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip this first stitch, but we're going to leave it right here. And we're going to knit the next stitch through the back loop. So we're going to take the second stitch, we're going to head in from right to left to get in the back loop, and we're going to knit it. We're not going to pull it off yet. Then we're going to knit this next stitch in the front loop. So I'm going to bring it around. This is the stitch that I just pulled up. We're going to knit that first stitch, and then we're going to pull both off of the needle at the same time. And this is what's going to give us like our twisty, cool stitches. So again, because that is our repeat, we're going to purl 2. Once you get the hang of them, they're pretty fast working. And especially after the first row, because we all know how much fun it is to work into the first row. So we're going to, again, go in, we're going to skip the first stitch, we're going to go into the second stitch, and I keep catching this right here. Okay, we're going to knit that first one. Just kidding. I love the foundation row. It's my favorite. Can't you tell? I'm about to kick it, especially when I'm looking through a camera and not actually at the project. Okay, there we go. So we're going to knit through the back, bring it around front, and I always kind of like just hold on to everything because these 2 stitches are getting worked at the same time. I pull them way far away from the end of my needle so I don't lose any of them. Then we're going to knit that front stitch, and then we're going to slide both of those off. Now we have 3 stitches at the end. This is the other side of our stitches. We're going to purl those last 3. 1, and be done with this foundation row. Hate foundation rows. All right, let's move on to row 2. All right, so for row 2, it's a pretty easy kind of repeat. We're going to knit 3 first. So 1, and get this tail out of here. 2, 3. Then our repeat is just going to be a purl 2, knit 2 across to our last stitch. So purl 2, knit 2, again purl 2, knit 2, and then the very last stitch is just going to be a knit 1. Nice and easy. These are our wrong side rows, so this is actually, you know, the first row is the right side row, and that's where all the magic happens. That's where we get to do all the fun, weird double stitching that we're going to be doing. But once you get the hang of it, it's really not that bad. So for row 3, now we're going to do a new one. So we're going to do a knit. So we're going to knit 1, and then start our repeat, which is knit 2, and then we're going to do a 1, back slash, front slash, whatever it is, 1 RT, which is a 2-stitch right twist. And this one I think is easier than the left, but it's weirder. So we're going to skip that first stitch again, and we're going to knit the front of the second stitch. But how do you do that? Like, how do you work that? You're actually going to go through, so we're going to come through, grab it, and bring it back through the front. Then we're going to knit the front of the next one. So it's kind of just reaching through, going through both of them, and knitting both of them, and then whoosh, slip them off. And this one's kind of weird. It looks very strange when it comes off, but it creates a really cool stitch as you keep going. So then again, we're going to knit 2 and do the 2-stitch right twist. So notice I'm kind of pulling it apart so that I can get through just that front loop of this stitch. Grab it, bring it through. I try to give them a little bit of slack so it's not like really super tight, so kind of pull on it a little bit. Then we're going to knit the front of that stitch and slide both off. We got 3 stitches left, and it's an easy knit 3. And then we are ready for row 4. For row 4, we're going to start with purl stitches, kind of doing opposite each time. So this time we're going to purl 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to do the opposite of what we did on row 2. We're going to knit 2, purl 2. So we're going to knit 2, and some of these twisted stitches will be a little funky. Oop, I'm sorry, I'm doing a purl here. Are a little funky to get through when you're doing your knit stitch, especially this one right here. This is like the hardest one to get into because it's looped up, so it's kind of hard to get through there. So I use my nail or my thumb to pull it down so that I can get through it easier. So that's kind of the little tip for row 4. That's the one we're on, right? Yep, row 4. Last stitch after our repeat is 1 more purl, and then we're on to row 5. And as you can see, this looks like a bunch of mess right now. It doesn't really look like anything. It's not really coming together yet. Give it some time. It takes at least like 1 full repeat to kind of see it, but 2 to really see it. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, this is looking right. Right now, it looks totally wrong. Don't worry, it'll get better. Okay, so to begin row 5, we're going to start with a purl 1. And this is going to be the same as row 1, except we're offsetting. So now we're going to start with a 2-stitch left twist and then purl 2. So we're going to go through the back. A lot easier when it's not the foundation row, as I totally mess it up. Jinx. So get my first stitch, then I'm coming through the front and I'm holding on to everything so I don't lose it. Knit that front stitch, pop it off, and then 2 purls. Again, through the back loop. If you have to, turn it around so you can catch it. Once you get used to it, you won't even have to look at it to find it. Knit the front stitch, slide it off, purl 2, and then those last 3 stitches, it's a little different because it was a purl 3 on row 1, but for this row, we're going to do another 2-stitch left twist. So back loop, front loop, slide, and then purl that last one. We're starting to get kind of a twist. Yeah, not really, still looks bad. So let's go to row 6 and hope it gets better. For row 6, we're going to do our first 3 stitches, which is a knit 1, purl 2 before we start our repeat. And then our repeat is going to go all the way to the end, to the last stitch. So we're doing knit 2, purl 2 again, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and then that last stitch is going to be a knit 1. Oops, I'm losing it. I really need to pull out more slack. I'm so bad about that. All right, so that's the next row, and we'll head on to row 7, almost to the end of the whole stitch pattern repeat. 7, and put a whole slack pile in the back here so I stop getting stuck. we're gonna start with a knit one, and we're gonna do our 2-stitch right twist right at the beginning. So remember, we're gonna go into the second stitch, knit it, come to the first stitch, knit it, then slide those 2 suckers off, and then we're gonna knit 2, and we're just gonna repeat that across. So knit the second, knit the first, slide, and knit 2. And just like kind of row 5, was it? We're gonna do, instead of knit 3 at the end, we're gonna do 1 more twist stitch. So knit the front, slide, and then knit that last stitch. And after that row, stuff starts happening. You start to get some more, you start to see the twist. It's starting to come together. So for row 8, we are going to finish off this pattern repeat by knitting 3, 1, 2, 3, and then our purl 2, knit 2, as we keep doing on the wrong side rows. This is that funky one after the right twist. That knit stitch is always a pain. That's that little loop that's in the way, so just push it out of the way and knit. And then our last stitch is also a knit. So that's the pattern repeat. You're going to do 1 through 8 over and over again. So when we look at the front, and it's still not totally visible, but you can see kind of this spot right here where it's kind of looping and looping. That is what we're getting here, these loops coming through. So when it's all nice and big, you can really see that twisted stitch look, which is really cool. And I even still like the back. The back's got kind of this weird right angle thing going on. So I think this would be cool even as a scarf because both sides are really interesting. But you could do, you know, a beanie or whatever just for one side if you wanted. But very stretchy still, nice texture. It's still very drapey, so it's not like super bulky. Like, you know, if you were to do like straight up bobbles or something, it's still got some good drape. So that is the twisted trippin' twist. What am I calling this thing again? The Trippin' Twist Stitch. I am Deja with Knit and Crochet Ever After, and thank you for watching.